Okay, so optimizing your body as a tactical athlete. Um, when you guys are first responders, people often say that you're very athletic. It is related to that of a pro athlete. But there is a big difference between what you do as a tactical athlete versus what a pro athlete does. So when we're looking at them both separately, a pro athlete's career is where everything is structured, everything is on a schedule. They know exactly when their preseason is. They know the whole schedule during their season. They know how much rest they have in between games. They know when the big games that are coming up where they really need to peak. um, for competitions too, such as like the Olympics or um, sports such as swimming, you have competitions at different intervals. So you need to be able to focus on rest, recovery, and peaking. So you need to peak during those times of competition. And then when your season's over, you have downtime. You have that off season where there's other things that you do. So it's very structured. For you guys, it's beyond that. I've even heard from somebody in the military with special forces, where special forces are deployed for certain amounts of time. They do not keep them out for longer than a certain amount of time because they know that your body is just going to break down. That if they continue to push and push and push like that and don't pull you back, redeploy you so that you can recover, so that you can peak during your next deployment, then um, then your body's just going to fall apart and you're going to make mistakes, not be able to really perform optimally when they need you to. With your job, this is a life career. So many of you, 25, 30, 35 years in service. And a lot of that time is shift work until, depending on the size of your service, some of you are able to get out of shift work and get into more administrative roles, but you're still usually working 12-hour shifts beyond that. I mean, my husband's technically supposed to be Monday to Friday at this moment. He's had off. Well, in May, he had 3 days off, I believe. He was supposed to be off last weekend, but 8 p.m. on Friday night, we found out there was another protest on Sunday. So he had to go in and do all the logistical preparations for it and then be in the command vehicle all day on Sunday. So missing persons, all these things, he's out all different times. So technically it's a Monday to Friday, but it's not. You know, it's not. It never is. The amount of hours he has banked since COVID, um, it's unbelievable. He's almost doubled his salary, which is crazy because you guys already work a lot of hours. So we need to think differently. We need to have a different tactical plan when we're treating you as a tactical athlete versus you as a pro athlete. So any of you that came into this with an athletic background, you keep using a lot of those same skills. But what we find is they may carry you longer than some of the other guys. But over time, pushing yourself, excelling with all of your athletes, athletics, with your training, and with even like the healthiest of nutrition, we start seeing things start to go. We start seeing sleep go. We start gut issues, short fuse, anxiety, things that you wouldn't expect in somebody who comes into this with a huge athletic background, who truly understands what their body needs to excel. But tactically, it's very different. So let's dive into that today. So the first thing is when we look at a pro athlete, they have a whole team. When you guys come in, you guys go into your training, and it really depends on your service. Some of them, it is pretty much fill out the resume. Okay, there you go. Some of you have to buy your own equipment for police and very small services, or you're given your equipment and instantly you're on the road with somebody. Others, it can be up to a 2-year training process. So that completely varies. And what tools you get vary. All of you get the well, you don't all get the tactical training. EMS your training period is huge. The medical, you have to completely understand all of the medical aspects. So all of the tactical training is given to you. Fire, tactically trained. So your tactical part of that is huge. So that would relate to, I'm just going to choose basketball right now. That would relate to a basketball player being trained for the actual game, all of the different plays, the positioning, all of those things. That's your tactical training. But those athletes then still have trainers, nutrition coaches, physiotherapists, mindset coaches. They have therapists as well, and all kinds of other people. They have a medical staff that is taking care of them. And so, how do we bring those aspects into your job? So, many of you do have that athletic background. There are all kinds of training programs. Somebody just posted a really good question about workouts to do on shift. And so many people gave links and apps and different workouts that they specifically do when they have 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes on their shift that they can actually work out, or before or after their shifts. So you're pretty much covered there if you guys want. There's so many different amazing apps. I know there's Fit for Training, Fire Fit for Training. Actually just wrote this one down earlier. There's Firefighter Furnace. They do some amazing training. There's brute force training that does your heavy bags, which is great for tactical. There's all kinds of, there's just tons there. There's all your Krav Maga. There's all kinds of different jiu-jitsu, martial arts. You guys have access to all of that you guys can get into. That is all there. So that is your training off of the court. And then we get into the nutritional aspect. There is so much out there when it comes to nutrition. And there's so many different diets and eatings and ways and styles of eating. So if you are up on that, then eating as clean as you can with whichever protocol. If you're vegan, if you are more paleo, it doesn't really matter in one sense what you choose to. Each one, though, we now have to look into. So with nutrition, we have to be able to come up with ways of how you can eat in order for every single scenario on the job. So I'm going to dive into that with my second point, because that's a bigger point. So the nutrition is a big one. We have the mindset aspect. There is tons that these guys do for the mindset. When you are in the playoff breaking game of where you are, the score is tied, you have everybody looking at you, you need to make that free throw shot, the clock's about to run out, and you need to absolutely make that shot in order to win this playoff game. You need to be strong, mentally alert, and right on there. These guys do so much mental and mindset training before they get into those stages to be proactive. So if you guys can proactively do that, there are tons of amazing podcasts, amazing books on all kinds of things. Mindset Radio is one of my favorites, honestly, for a lot of the mindset. It's by a former firefighter ranger. And he dives into a lot of the mindset stuff with you guys there. Then we get into the therapy aspect. A lot of people think that therapy is only for when a trauma's happened, for when things have built up, for when the world's crashing down on you. But if you do it proactively, so if we think of these athletes, if they haven't dealt with their crap, then they're not going to be able to deal with the public, deal with the scrutiny, deal with things that are going on at home, which is all going to interfere with their performance on the court. So if they go to therapy, deal with childhood traumas. The amount of childhood traumas in first responders is unbelievably high. So if you had a traumatic experience as a child, and that was your turning factor to become a first responder, no, you aren't alone. The thing is that most people don't deal with those until all of these things start piling up and they become too much and your house of cards crashes down. So there are ways as a tactical athlete that you can make sure that you have this. A lot of you have EAPs. Now, with EAPs, Some of them, the therapists that you are able to go to are phenomenal. Some of them have no idea about your life, about a first responder's life. They have no idea. So making sure that you do call around, check in. My husband's is amazing. I think they've recently changed it. But in order for us to go to a therapist, we just need to present the bill. We don't need to get a doctor's note. We don't need, it could be a psychotherapist, a psychologist. It does not matter. It could be a social worker. It doesn't matter as long as they are dealing with the mental side of things. We just present the bill and they will reimburse us for it. So EAPs can be a huge source for those. EMDR is a huge one. If you have EMDR offered through your EAP, take advantage of it now. Because if you have that where your mind is so clear on the job, like, honestly, crap like this past year with COVID and Black Lives Matter. So two different scenarios. I've been hearing about fire stations where they're normally a big family, but they have to be 6 feet apart and masked all the time. They're not allowed to work out together. They can only do things in rotations of 4. And the morale and everything is going down. But if you were to go to EMDR, it would actually, it's not talk therapy. So if you want to know about it, go into my YouTube channel under interviews, and you will find the one on EMDR. It is by a former homicide detective officer. So he explains it amazing, what EMDR is and how it works. But doing it proactively is what is going to set you up for success. That way, if you do ever have a traumatic call on the job that hits you, you already have somebody that you have a rapport with that knows you, knows all your crap. You don't have to wade through any other stuff because you've already worked through it. And now you can just get into the depths of this and get it done and over with fast. If you catch the traumas quicker with EMDR, then the faster your body's able to process it. And as EMDR is, it puts a file into your brain for that. So it stops going around and giving you all these thoughts and catastrophic thoughts and flashbacks and things. So making sure that you do have that team like a proactive pro athlete does, but making sure that it's a team that understands your stress system, that really understands. So that's the 5th thing. They have that medical component. And so that's where what we do comes into place with that, is that we actually go in and test. We test your stress system. We find out in your stress system, where all the hormones are off, the hormones that are in charge of your sleep, that are in charge of your anxiety, that are in charge of you getting into that hypervigilant state, always overfiring, or what we call male PMS, where you're tearing up over things, moody over things, grumpy. That is all due to the way that your whole hormonal pathways are going. So understanding that and knowing where in you to adjust it so that you can then perform optimally is huge. Making sure that your gut is performing optimally, that you have everything that you need so that your serotonin, your anti-anxiety hormone is working. That's all mainly in the gut. So making sure that all of these things work together is hugely important for your body to then heal after workouts, to get that adrenaline rush in your workout, to get that adrenaline rush that you got at the start of your career when you did go to calls, to not be overly annoyed and frustrated with administration or things at home that never would have bothered you before and now just totally set you off. So it's really important to have that team. So that's my first one, is make sure that you do have a tactical team that understands your life as a first responder and a tactical athlete, in order to have everything from a preventative point of view so that you don't have to deal with it when you're in the reactive stage. The second thing that I said I was diving into is fuel. So I've been reading this book. It's amazing. Sleep to Win, by Dr. Kirk Parsley. He is a former Navy SEAL. And one of my favorite quotes in it is nutrition. So it's where he quotes that, so that it's basically a natural selection dictates those who ate the best diet would have been most likely to procreate, protect their offspring, and survive hardships. So if we really think about nutrition, If you were in a natural selection point of view, where does your nutrition lie? Because are you living off of coffee, energy drinks, and and all of those things that need to be pumping up your energy? Are you taking prescriptions to be able to amp you up and get through your shifts? If you are, that's a sign that either your nutrition is off, your stress system most likely, and your gut isn't absorbing nutrients. So if you're eating really clean, then and you're still tanking, then we need to look further. If you are not eating really clean, then, you know, you could start adding in some healthy habits and get you up there, but it is natural selection. Your body is totally going to choose, is going to perform the way that you fuel it. So what goes in is how you're performing. So living off of those energy drinks, living off of pre-workout drinks, off of coffee, if those are what you're living off of, cigarettes, you're living off of sugar and carbs, which there are all reasons that your body's craving these. Alcohol too. Your body starts craving alcohol when it's at a certain state, when those hormones we talked about are totally out of whack. So making sure that everything's aligned and then working to optimally perform your nutrition. Nutrition alone is not going to fix. The way that I view it is, let's think of a car. Your stress system, hormones, nervous system, and gut is the engine. But if your engine is not running well, it's not running, let's say the battery is even dead, and you pump in the best gas that you can possibly with exercise and nutrition, that's not going to make the engine go. That is not going to make the battery come back to life. We need to first make sure that that engine is going well before exercise and nutrition are going to help to maintain the optimal function of that engine. Okay, so there's a big point to that. And the last thing that I have is rest and recovery. Sleep deprivation is the biggest thing. So let's take a professional athlete. If they had everything, they had the mindset, the therapy, the nutrition, they had a chef cooking everything for them, that it was the most healthiest, organic, GMO, hormone antibody free foods possible. They had no toxins in their environment. Their whole house was antitoxin. They had everything going for them. They had the best tactical coaches. They had everything there. If they were sleep deprived, how would their performance be? They'd be tanking. That's when the mistakes happen. You start Googling, go on to PubMed, Google Scholar, where you get the real research journals, and go in there and plug in fire, sleep deprivation, police, sleep deprivation, paramedic, EMS, sleep deprivation. And all of these studies pop up. It is, I could spend days in there. And when you're looking at what sleep deprivation does, it's phenomenal. Your motor skills, your mood regulations. They do say that, like, the amount of when a first responder is sleep deprived, the mistakes they make on the job is tremendous. And the mood, so being able to de-escalate situations. Not every situation is is able to be de-escalated, hands down. But there are times, I'm sure you've gone with colleagues where you're like, why is he getting mad at this person? Why is their voice raising? Why is this going up with my colleague on this call? Like, I hear from those that there's certain people they don't really want to work with sometimes, because when they're on calls, as soon as they go in, they're like a raging beast. And quite often that stems back from sleep deprivation. We can fix your gut. We can do these tests on your hormones, but if you're not going to take the steps to help with sleep deprivation, then you're just going to go right back there again. Sleep deprivation is the root of everything. And this is where it gets tricky in your job. With sleep deprivation, you guys are working 12, 24-hour shifts, OT, 48s, 96s. You're doing back-to-back where you're on a 12, you've got OT, you barely have enough time to get home, shower, change, dress, maybe grab an hour before you need to go back on shift. Or we've got court in there. It's just ridiculous, right? So the thing is there's things we can control and things that we can't. So What are you doing on your days off? Also, how long is it taking to fall asleep? We just had a guy this week. This was like, so Fridays we do our wins, and I can't wait to see his win this Friday because we were just talking to him, and it took him 2 hours to fall asleep every night. He's been with us 3 weeks. 3 weeks, maybe he's been with us. We just this week, he got his test results back. We just started working on that. So this was just stuff that we worked with his intake form coming in, of being able to adjust and modify some things there and give him some supplemental support that certain signs and symptoms showed that he needed. He's down to 30 minutes. 30 minutes is taking him. That's an extra hour and a half of sleep he just gained. Regardless of on shift, off shift, he's getting an hour and a half every day. So that is, oh shit, I'm going to do the math. 3, 6, 9. That's 10 and a half extra hours of sleep a week. That's almost like one full night of sleep a week. He was losing that before. So there's things that we can do. We can't take away your shifts. I would love for your shifts to be changed. You guys have more staff in order to be able to spread shifts and have more days off in between. That would be ideal. But that's not a reality right now. So we have to work with what we have. And that means doing everything that we can from a testing point and from understanding what's going on in your body to be able to maximize your sleep on our end. On your end, it means having proper sleep hygiene. And what that means to one person is different than the other. If you go and listen to biohacking and stuff, there's blue light plays a big part of it. But there's no way that you guys can have a like 2-hour sleep routine when you're getting home at 7 or getting off at 7 in the morning and going home when the sun's up. And once you get home, what are you supposed to go sit in a dark room for 2 hours until you start going to sleep? That's not possible. So we need to work with your job and create certain sleep routines, some supplementation that starts to give signals to your sleep and your waking hormones that one can go down, the other one can go up, and things like that in order to give those signals and to be able to help and excel you to be able to fall asleep. Okay. So I just want to recap what we went over today and then I'll check any questions that you guys had. With pro athletes, the difference between pro athletes, tactical athletes, you guys don't get the rest time. You guys are going from the time that you start your career until 30, 35 years later. So we need to take into account the things that we can do with that. A pro athlete has a team. You guys can create a team too. You can listen to podcasts. You can go on your EAPs and fight with your EAPs to make sure that they do have therapists that specialize in first responders, some that deal with childhood trauma, therapists that deal with crisis traumas, therapists that do EMDR. So there's different types of therapy. So make sure that you have the different types. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's ART. It's very similar to EMDR. Can't remember what it is. There's also another one that's similar to EMDR. So there's different spin-offs of these ones. Find out, make sure that your EAP has access in your area, or they can get some online that your EAP supports that has military first responder experience. Okay. So these are things that you can fight for. Making sure that your nutrition is on track, that it's as good as it can be. Exercise. If you're sleep deprived, recovery comes first. Okay. So these are all different things that you can have in your plate. What we do too is that support for your stress system. So you can have that team that an athlete has. We just have to think of it creatively. Second thing is fueling yourselves, right? It is, crap. I forget what it's like survival of the fittest, right? It is, if you are feeding yourself crap, you're going to perform like crap. So that we have to think of this. If you need pre-workout drinks in order to work out, you're not getting the right fuel to your body. So is it either what you're eating, or is it that your body isn't even able to absorb the nutrients because your gut is off? So we need to look at different things in there. And then getting into rest and recovery, sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is huge. And we need to make sure that you are doing everything that you can to optimize your sleep, because that is the base root of everything. There is no pro athlete that would be able to perform through their career and peak during their series if they were sleep deprived. they'd be making mistakes on the court. They would not be able to make sure that their shots were there. I mean, crap, race car drivers, we watch a lot of Formula One racing. And there's no way those guys would be able to stay calm and alert and everything if they were not getting sleep, if they did not have all of these different coaches preparing them so that they could handle what was going on right then and there in their sport. And we need you guys to be on. This is a matter of life or death. I want my husband coming home at the end of every single shift, and so do you. Your kids, your spouses, your parents, everybody wants you to come home at the end of your shifts. And it is your responsibility to do everything that you can to make it happen. It is not your services. Your services role is to provide services for you. It is not their job to make you put in the effort, do the steps, and implement it. That's your job. So let me know what you think of this. I'm going to do a quick check for questions, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, we are good. We don't have any questions from this today. I didn't actually ask you guys any. So if any questions do pop up on that, let me know. And I am always here to help you. Again, if you have any questions, you can email us support@911lifestyle.com. Everything that you say to us is confidential. We are not associated with any service at all. And we've also created a way to use aliases in our program. So doesn't matter what your ranking is, doesn't matter if your service has a view where you could lose your job or your position, for being proactive and taking care in order to optimize your body, we can make that happen with us. So reach out. We are absolutely here to help. Support@911lifestyle.com.